when I taught the big six on your last episode, it's the six places that we have people release the lymphatics and increase blood flow throughout the body. Every single day, I get a message from people who saying, I have been doing that program for like a few weeks, a few months, or a few days, and I, I feel better. I have more energy. I'm less tired. It's just so wonderful. And the reason is it's because it helps everything that we've been talking about for the last hour. When you do it, it just seems almost at this point ridiculously stupid simple. When you do the big six, people laugh at it when they first see it because it is that simple. But once you understand the physiology and the neurology and the physics behind it, then you go, whoa, what now I actually get it, doc. Okay. It's not silly at all. And the six done on a daily basis can keep you that hashtag beast mode resilient monster that you're supposed to be.
Yeah. For those that don't know the Big Sick, can you quickly just recap that? I know we went into that last time, but there may be new listeners right now. Can you go into that as well as some of the other points? Because we've obviously established, and I think it was great to hear
Yeah.
that because, vitality is everything. It's not just for the super sick. It's not, it's the people that are just like, hey, I just want to be better, but I can't find the energy. Well, this may be it and probably is part of this reason for sure. So how do we then improve lymphatic drainage and everything? People like, okay, I get it. What do I do?
Great question. And that's actually one of the reasons why I made the big six so simple is because people were didn't have a lot of energy to do pretty much anything else.
Right?
I just had to get you started, man. Just
Yeah.
just start. And then when you start to feel better, you're like, bam, I'm all in, right? So the six places that I teach you are based on where the biggest lymph node clusters gather that are basically your body's toilet system to flush out the waste. And that's where all the garbage men are to unburden your waste. And they're strategically placed around the body and the joints of the body that are supposed to have the most movement when you move. So the operative word is supposed to, and the other word is when you move. Okay. So that's why I want you to move. And people say, move how? And my answer is yes, just move. So those clusters around movement, because every time you move, it pumps them through muscular contraction. And then when you move, guess what increases? Your breathing. So then your pump increases. So what I tell people is close your mouth, breathe in and out through your nose whenever you can. When you're exercising, when you're sleeping, when you're doing whatever, if you can. Okay. And you're going to go to the six parts, and I'll give you some bonus ones today that you can add to the six. All right. The first place that we go to all the time is the main drain of fluids in the body for the vein and the lymph, which are your waste management ones. The collarbone is always number one, above and below. I would like for you to spend a, a larger amount of time in a perfect world just chilling out at number one, massaging it in many different ways with many different pressures and different speeds. Just don't cause pain. Okay. That's the number one rule. Don't cause pain. Because when I open up the main drain, all the other ones will now be able to start flowing to it automatically. Okay. So you clear number one, and then we go straight up to number two, which is just below the brain, behind the angle of the jaw, below the lobe of the ear at the upper cervical. They call it atlas and axis C1, C2. The largest lymph node toilet in the neck sits right there, and you just massage there. Okay. Same thing. Many different directions. I like circles a ton. I like circles a ton. Then you go to number three. Number three is at the shoulder joint, right where your pectoral muscle attaches to the shoulder. just massage and rub in there. That's another great reason why just putting your hands over your head and hanging really opens that up. Like hanging is a wonderful way to help your body heal itself.
Mm.
So you do both sides. Then number 4 is where most of the lymph sits, the entire abdomen, from the belly button up to the bottom of the sternum, the whole thing. I'd like for you to spend a lot of time there too, because that's where 50% of your lymph lives. Use both hands, rub up and down, side to side, draw hieroglyphics, like go deeper. And I learned this from studying Qigong and Eastern medicine. They do belly taps and slaps, like 50 light taps on your belly, moves the muck. It gets some of the blood flow going, and it's a really great stimulator for your vagus nerve.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the point is now 4 is going to be able to rush up to number 1 because you already opened number 1. And then number 5 is the crease of the groin called your inguinal lymph nodes. Those get congested a lot because people sit a ton. Right? Big trap point. So rub across the crease of the groin in different directions, same way. And you can lightly slap and tap that area too. That works quite well. And then number 6 would be the lymph nodes behind the knee called the popliteal lymph nodes. That's one of my favorite spots because that's a huge place where blood flow gets congested because of sitting a ton, tight calves, and you trap off the drainage from the calf, foot, and ankle. So that's why people get a lot of swelling in the ankles or varicose veins and spider veins. That's a pressure problem when you have that. But it's also in acupuncture, they call that it's a great spot for low back pain. When you go behind the knee, I think it's urinary bladder 40, UB40. I could be wrong. Kind of sounds like a reggae group, right? But that's because the sciatic nerve that goes down your leg splits off just above the knee, and it gets a stick point right there. So if you're puffy behind the knee, you really cause blood flow chaos to your sciatic nerve right there, and that's going to hurt. Okay. So you rub right there, and that's versus the doc. It's the craziest thing in the world, but my back actually feels better. Does that make sense? Yep, sure does. All right. So that's the 6. And then what you would do after that is just move the body. So I always have people kind of lightly jump up and down a little bit, like little slight rebounders on your calves. And your calves are great because they're built-in dynamic rebounders. And when they contract, they pump the vein flow back up to the collarbone. And now that you opened up all those routes, the pump can send it up to the collarbone. Right? Because it's not just about lymph stagnation, it's vein stagnation. You always have both. And what I thought was quite fascinating when I started to study circulation is that you have twice as many veins as you do arteries. And I thought about that. Like, why would that be? Because they're reservoirs. That means you put water somewhere until it can get out. It takes overflow. So when you have stagnation in the body and stuff can't get out, it stays in the body, but then it stays in the veins. And then that's when you get vein distension and varicose veins and stuff like that. But your waste management drains now get stuck as well. Okay. That's why you have twice as many. So it's, to me, what does that mean? It's twice as important. So your body already told you what's the more important side, the artery side or the vein side. I just told you, the vein side. And the veins go to the collarbone. The veins go to your collarbone. So if you have that, that's 6. You can do 7, which is in the middle of 3. That's the entire sternum, along the sternum. The sternum is supposed to be hard, breast chest plate, like a wall.
Hmm.
Many people have it to where it's puffy, tender, and swollen and absolutely agonizing when you touch it. That is
Hmm.
not normal. If you have a puffy, tender sternum, that means you've had a deep lymphatic block for probably a decade or more that's stuck. And it's going to be stuck right behind your sternum along your spine, right at the duct that's trying to go to your collarbone. That's a deep one. You have to clear that. That's a must. So you rub the sternum, and just by rubbing the sternum and doing the big six, you'll start to open it up. Then I want you to find the spaces between the ribs next to the sternum and put your fingers in between the spaces on both sides and rub right there. You're welcome, and you're going to hate it because it's going to hurt. And here's my point. It's not supposed to hurt when it's normal.
Hmm.
It hurts when it's backed up and stagnated and you got poor flow. And then those nerves, when they get irritated, they'll cause pain pretty much anywhere in your body. Anywhere. Need to open that up, and you'll be able to take a much deeper breath now because you opened up the ability for those nerves to now stretch because they've got compromised blood flow at the end of the nerve. Okay. And then another place you can go is the tailbone, your sacrum. Right? You go to the base of the spine and you rub the tailbone, or you put I like to use vibration massage balls, little balls that vibrate. That's why we made our own vibration balls. You can put the vibration ball on the 6 places. You can even put it on the sternum and on the tailbone. The reason I go to the tailbone is because when you get stuck full of lymph in the abdomen, it backflows to the tailbone. And the tailbone, neurological wise, that's part of your parasympathetic nervous system, so you can relax and recover. So if you have inflammation and stuck muck around there, it can compromise the function of your sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system balance like that. And a third bonus is you'll likely have a bowel movement and you'll poop
Hmm.
when you stimulate the sacrum, because that supplies the left half descending part of your colon, the poop chute.
Hmm.
So you can let stuff out. And that's good because you don't want to have constipation because that means you get stuck full of what? Waste.
Yeah.
Right? And then that backs up. So there's a lot of lymphatics going on in there, but there's a lot of neurology going
Hmm.
on in there and a lot of vascular differences. I'll tell you this, man. If you can do those 8 places on a daily basis, and then try to breathe in and out through your mouth more, excuse me, your nose more than your mouth. And if you can do that for a month, you're going to shift your healing needle.
Mm.
It's
I re-
impossible not to.